Hi there! This is the Darkglass Exponent 500, or e500 for friends. It's an immensely versatile multi-effect unit built inside a clean amplifier with 500 watts of power. Let's hear it out. The e500 is not a new release at this point, but there have been some new developments that sparked this review. That's actually the whole point of the amplifier, continuous development, but more on that later. In the interest of full transparency, Darkglass did give me this amplifier for review, and we also worked on the script together before filming. So this video is sponsored by Darkglass. Then again, they explicitly told me that they wanted all the criticism I could give, and for the script they only pointed out a few features that I had missed. As always, I'm going to be honest and fair with my review. The Exponent 500 is an interesting amp from Darkglass, being that it's a clean amplifier with no coloration or analog distortion. They didn't even bother naming the knobs at the front, except for the input and the master. Behind the deceptively simple surface, there's actually a lot going on, because this amplifier has a built-in, fully featured digital multi-effect processor. The effects currently include delays, overdrives, reverbs, modulation effects, a few different tube preamps, and of course the coveted Darkglass cabinet simulation that just got updated with a new set of SWR and Eden cabinets. The collection is ever expanding, and pretty soon even this listing is obsolete. That actually brings us to the next point, which is continuous development. When the Exponent 500 came out about a year ago, I, as probably a lot of Darkglass fans, was a bit disappointed. This platform has an immense potential, but at launch that potential was pretty much underutilized. The effect selection was tiny, and while you don't really need much for a good bass tone, the whole point of a multi-effect is to have an abundance of stuff to choose from. A more stripped back effect selection wouldn't have been a problem had it not been missing some crucial effects for bass, such as an octaver. That's actually still not in the e500 yet, but I've heard it's coming. Apparently it's already fully functional and the tracking is super good. They're just slightly tweaking the algorithm before releasing it to the wild. Hi, just a quick note while I'm editing this. While talking with Darkglass, they also mentioned that the next thing they're going to be working on after the octaver is more modulation effects and more utility, like more EQs and boosters and such. I have no ETAs on any of those, but they're coming. Back to the studio. If they can nail the sound of an old Boss OC2 with proper tracking this time, I'm gonna be so satisfied. You can already do some really cool synthy sounds with it though, and it only gets better from here. A while ago, Darkglass also released the newest addition to their digital ecosystem, which is online preset sharing. The Darkglass preset sharing platform is currently in open beta, and you can join it too. Preset sharing is precisely what this amplifier needs. The ability to like, share and download tones made by users such as you and me and the Darkglass artists makes using this amplifier and discovering new sounds and configurations way easier than before. And I think that an online preset sharing platform such as this is the necessity for any digital platform to thrive. I've already uploaded my presets to the cloud, and you can find all the tones heard in this video up there as well. Look for these under the username Paajanenaes or use the URL in the description. The best part of this preset sharing platform is that it's built right into the Darkglass suite. Too many multi-effect units have the preset sharing as a separate thing. A new website or a different app altogether. With the Darkglass cloud service, any public preset is available for you anytime you open the Darkglass suite. To publish your own presets, you only need to select the preset you've saved by clicking or touching it and then checking this slider here to make it public. It will then ask you if you want to publish your very useful preset which has 3 fuzzes dimed. And of course you're sure. Now you also have a chance to fill in the description. Maybe tell everyone how you intend this sound to be used. What pickups did you use to dial it in? And fill in some keywords also, like artists or songs that this tone reminds you of. Now your preset is live and everyone can download it. The Darkglass suite has all kinds of search filters available, so if you want your tones to be found, you might want to optimize the description. You also might want to bind the most interesting features you think your users will like into the amplifier front panel knobs for ease of use. If you find a preset you like, you can also find more presets by the same user here. The thing I love the most about the e500 is the ability to stack different kinds of effects and the ease of it. You start with a feeling like, I would really like to try out the chorus. And then you bring up a blank preset slot. You load in the Leo preamp for that glassy tone, and then you add in your favorite cab. A little bit of compression to keep things even, and a noise gate to fight the shielding issues in your bass. That's your basic tone, and for ease of use, you map the EQ controls found on the Leo preamp to the physical knobs on the amplifier itself. Now you can add in a chorus and get lost in inspiration. Or instead of chorus, you add in the envelope filter with built-in distortion. Or just an overdrive in front of the amp. Maybe even 2. Ease of use with the Darkglass suite on your phone or on your computer is a great feature, and adding in and trying out effects works really well, but the app control still feels a bit undercooked in some ways. For example, dialing in compression is a major pain. First off, there's no gain reduction metering available, and even worse, there's no compressing knob to tweak. I get that they're going for this 1176 vibe here, but the 1176 design only works when you can tweak 2 controls at the same time. This compressor seriously needs a link option for the input and output controls, and also the aforementioned gain reduction metering. I also think that there needs to be a master volume control inside the app that's preset specific and easily available. I've been running this amp straight into my audio interface, and everyone seems to be dialing in their presets at a different volume level. That means that I need to constantly reach out and tweak my playback volume and risk blowing out my ears on the next preset, or tweak my input gain by as much as 20 dB. It's also a bit weird that the changes you make only apply once you finish making those changes and lift your finger up. It seems that the connection between the app and the amplifier is not constant, but instead only transmits data when needed. All in all, this amp has me conflicted. I like the potential here a lot, and with the time and love Darkglass is putting into it, I can tell that it's going to be a killer amp. It's just not quite there yet, I fear. As it is, it still sounds good and arguably just as good as any Darkglass creation. But for a digital multi-effect unit, the number of effects here a year after launch is frankly a bit embarrassing. We have 3 different reverbs and delays, but just one chorus and a flanger and no phaser at all. Currently it's a bit hard to see what makes this amp so expensive. You're pretty much betting on the hope that they'll eventually add in the rest of the stuff. That's simultaneously a very exciting thing about this amplifier, as discussed previously, and also a big uncertainty. If there's an effect and it behaves in ways I don't like, what's the probability that they will eventually add in a better version of that same effect? Actually, what will they even be adding? How long will this platform even be supported? So far, Darkglass has been really good in supporting their older releases as well, but those are all analog. And the company itself isn't even 15 years old at this point, and has been doing the Darkglass suite for less than 5 years. If I'm going to be spending $1,000 into an amplifier, I really want to be sure that I can still access critical functions inside the amplifier in like 10 years. This amplifier is unique in that it cannot really function without the Darkglass suite, so if it loses that connection, it will instantly make these worthless. Currently, Darkglass is focusing more and more of their efforts into expanding their digital product line, so that shouldn't become a problem anytime soon, but it's still something that's gnawing at the back of my mind.
Exponentin tulevaisuudesta. Tällä hetkellä meno on vähän vajavaista. Tarvii lisää efektejä, muitakin kuin dileitä ja reverbejä. Ja ehkä vähän säröä. Tää vasta alkuun, mutta mikä onkaan tulossa? On vahvistimen tulevaisuus herran hallussa. Oi armoitettu valmistaja. Saisinko seuraavaan päivitykseen lisää soittotaitoa? Kiitos! Exponent! Tärisyyttä kameraa! Exponent! Reettaun tajunnan 500 wattia tehoa ja menoa. Exponent! Exponent! Tärisyyttä kameraa! Exponent! Reettaun tajunnan 500 wattia tehoa ja menoa. Exponent! Kroomikuorileitä valmistettu Suomessa. Merkkaamattomia nappuloita tusina. Itse asiassa mulla näkee on loppu lyrikat tähän näin, mutta otetaan tähän väliin bassosoolo. Tehoa ja menoa. Exponent! Exponent! Tärisyyttä kameraa! Exponent! Reettailun tajunnan 500 wattia tehoa ja menoa. Exponent!
What I'd like to see for the Darkglass E500 is a really long list, and I could go on and on and on, dreaming about all the cool stuff I'd like to add. But here's a summary. I'd like to see a dedicated Darkglass MIDI controller. Yes, they just released an update on this, but there are some things there that are missing and I would like to add. I'd like to be able to use a separate expression control with the MIDI pedal, just like with the Boss GA-FC, that you could actually map to any parameter inside the app or inside the amplifier. That way we could also get some bass wah effects. Pretty please. I'd also like to see more variety on the effects. This one is pretty self-explanatory. For a powerful multi-effect like this, you really need to have a variety of effect types and even more variety within the effects. I'd like to see more different drives. The chinchilla is already pretty popular, so why not add in a selection of legendary guitar drives with a blend control as well. I'd like to see more compressors, such as a bus-style compressor or an optical compressor. I'd also like to be able to set the modulation time on the modulation effects really low. Currently, I feel like the speeds available there go from medium to high to super high and crazy. I'd like to see a roadmap. This one is pretty crucial, I think. I'd like to know exactly what the plans for the e500 are. I'd like to know what kind of effects they'll be adding, whether those would be more delays, more reverbs, more modulation. Maybe they'll expand on the preamp section as well. Maybe there will be a fully parametric EQ. At least I'd like to see the direction they're going with it. Any more details wouldn't hurt. Lastly, I really need better algorithm optimization. This amp sometimes feels really underpowered. Maybe not by much, but having to use 25% of your entire processing power for a simple B3K simulation feels a bit whack. I guess that's all I've got to say about the e500 right now, but I think I might be back later. This amp has a certain charm to it, and digging around different tones really feels inspiring. I feel like even with all the hours I spent with the amp making this review, I'm still scratching the surface on what the amp can do and what I want to do with it. I really like the premise that it has. A bass multi-effect built inside a clean amplifier. And it sounds great already, but I really need to see where it goes from here.